Hello everyone. I'm here to present my capstone project on how to create personalized customer experience using AI. I, Manas Ranjan Sahu, I work in a credit union, and here I'm trying to talk about what are the problems that credit unions face, what are the competitors, and how we can use AI in providing personalized customer experience. So, as we go through this presentation, you're going to see what is exactly the problem statement I am referring to, what is the strategy that we will be looking at on finding out a good solution using AI to counter the particular problem statement, what are the different metrics that we are going to measure as we implement that particular strategy, what is going to be the detailed technology behind creating an AI model and the AI tool that we're going to use in the credit union. Then we're going to look at how we're going to fetch all the data that is needed by the AI model to take care of the results. And subsequently, we're going to look at what is the human factor and the organization factor that needs to be countered when we make any kind of this AI changes in the organization. And lastly, we're going to talk about what is a sample design experiment that we're going to run and how we're going to check whether the AI model is effective or not. Okay, so with that, I'm going to move on to the next slide, which talks about the problem statement. Now, credit unions in the financial industry are have the regular competitors who are the traditional banks, who are big banks. They have a million dollars of funds available for at their expense to create new products for the companies, for the customers. You also have credit unions, other credit unions which are bigger in size because the member base is quite huge. And you also have neobanks, now new fintech companies who provide online experience to customers and are able to attract more and more people on a day-to-day basis. Now, with credit unions, the main issue that we see is as compared to traditional banks, they have a limited marketing budget. And that is because credit unions are usually non-profit organizations and they are answerable to members. Now, this constrained marketing budget doesn't allow us to have any random marketing offers being sent out, and we cannot afford to have any kind of marketing errors as well. So we have to make sure that whatever we actually market to our members or potential prospects, that actually is quite effective. Now, additionally, we also see another issue with credit unions is that the total addressable market that a credit union can service is usually restricted, and that is restricted to only a specific company, a specific set of companies, and their family members. So, when credit unions are providing their offers to those members within the TAM, they have to make sure that any person within that TAM is getting all the attention that they want to provide, and make sure that the first on the top of the mind of those members, the credit union always comes first. So credit unions have to make sure that they are able to address and attract those members within the TAM through this focused marketing efforts, and that too within a limited budget. So as you can see, we have to take care of our limited TAM, but with a constrained budget as well. Okay, moving on to the next slide, we are looking at what is the strategy that we are going to implement to come up with a solution to counter this problem. Now, we have here a SWOT analysis which talks about what the strengths of credit unions are. So as you can see, one of the strengths of the credit union that I'm working for is the age of the credit union, which is more than 70 years, 75 years of age, and that's why it has a huge customer base. It has a length of customer experience that they have, the multiple years of experience that they've had with their old customers that provides them with a lot of data. Additionally, the leadership has been quite technology savvy, and that's why it is helpful to implement new technologies as well. We also have some weaknesses too, as we mentioned, limited marketing budget, and any kind of change in organizational within the organization that also needs to be accepted by all the business units. So those are kind of the weaknesses that we have to counter. Some of the opportunities that we see are that we are able to make sure our members are with us for a longer time, and if we are going to provide them with a good customer experience, they would become our advocates in front of the families, which can lead to more business. Now, this we also can look at how we can provide more and more offers within the credit union space, which makes us a first mover advantage amongst the credit unions and helps us get more and more business in the future. Some of the threats that we see is that if government regulations on use of data changes, then using AI to actually come up with a new novel solution is going to be hampered, and that is some of the threat that we can foresee in the future. Apart from that, what I feel is if the customers are hesitant on the usage of the data, that can lead to bad PR as well, and we have to make sure that customers are on board on the usage of data. Apart from that, we also have to make sure that we test whatever we are implementing, whatever AI model suggests. We have to test it thoroughly to make sure that it is not providing a bad experience rather than providing a good experience. So we have to make sure the results that we get out of the AI model, they actually are in alignment with what customers would expect. Moving on, based on this analysis, SWOT analysis, what we could find is that credit unions should use the strength of data. They should look at technology to keep the marketing costs down, and should invest in keeping customers happy so that they could have cheap word of mouth marketing and which could get actually better results. Now, of using all this SWOT analysis, what we could come up with is an AI-based tool which suggests the best customer servicing option for customers and provides targeted customer segmentation for financial products. Okay, the tool would provide marketing efficiency by making sure that we are providing offers to customers who have a propensity of acceptance. So we make sure that our offers go to customers who are going to accept it, and we have a higher accuracy over there. And it will also help improve the customer experience by making sure that we provide them with good offers before they can actually think of moving out and seeking a different financial institution for themselves. Okay, those kind of proactive checking that we can implement will also help us in retaining our member base, and it would also help in good word of mouth marketing too. We would also be using this tool to cater to customer experience as a reactive measure by making sure that if the customer has any kind of bad communication with us, how we can allay the fears that the customer has and make sure that we are able to either cross sell, upsell, or provide discounts for disgruntled customers to make sure that we do not get a high churn in our member base. Now, all of this AI technology that we have to implement, that would involve investment for sure. So as of now, we have thought that we have actually calculated a back of the envelope calculation that this is going to increase an annual investment of $500,000 based on subscription cost for a AI tool that we will be using. Now, currently, based on the income that we get, even if this leads to 1% increase in our income, that is going to provide us with the ROI of 150%. Now, while we talked about all the different tools, we also have to make sure that we are measuring it properly. And this slide, a cut above, is how we can make sure that we are a cut above our competition. Now, how do we measure that? So, here we have categorized the metrics into different categories. The first one is acquisition metrics. This talks about how many new customers we are able to acquire using the AI tool. Okay, you have two different metrics mentioned here: percentage of new customers, and the second is the time series trend of total offers rolled out, to make sure that we are reaching out to more and more prospective customers. The next is activation metrics, and this is primarily focused on existing members and to make sure that existing members are selecting one of the suggested customer action that they have to take. And if they are able to take one of those suggested action, that means our AI tool is providing something which is beneficial to them. The third item is retention metrics, and within this, what we are trying to measure is what is the repeat business that an existing member is doing with us, and if they are able to bring in more members as well through referral too. And the fourth category of metrics would be the monetization metrics, which talks about how we are going to increase the overall lifetime value of a member, and how we're going to get a more and more average revenue per user through this AI tool. So if you're seeing a positive trend in all these metrics, that means the AI tool is actually helping us. But if you see a negative trend somewhere, that means we have to maybe fine tune our AI's hyperparameter, or maybe stop using the AI tool altogether. Okay, so in order to implement this conceptual AI tool, the details behind it would be this. Now, what would happen here is we're going to look at all the different features that we can extract for a customer, like let's say age, income, debt, types of purchases, financial products, preferences. All that stuff we'll be considering as different features for the AI model to be used. We would be creating a list of outcomes, which would be the list of offers, the different products that we want to suggest, different kinds of educational links, any kind of discount perks that we want to provide, and those would be the final outcome of the model. Now, in between the input and the outcome, we would have a neural network created, which would be a softmax classification based. Now, a softmax classification is going to provide us with multiple results of different rankings, so or different propensities of acceptance. And why we are trying to do that is make to understand that if you're getting providing a top three results back to the customer, we want to see which of these top three results the customer actually prefers, and that way that will help us in fine tuning the model as well. Okay, we then carrying out surveys to understand what customers preference would be for different scenarios. We would also be using historical data that is already present with us to understand what the customer has been preferring at different times of their lives, for different events in their lives, and so that way we can understand what could be the final outcome in such cases. And those kind of scenarios we will be categorizing and labeling as supervised cases. Now, once we have a list of supervised cases, we're going to divide the whole list into train set, test set, and validation set with a 70, 20, and 10 split. Now, we're going to train the AI classification model using the training set of 70% supervised cases. We're going to validate and fine tune the model's hyperparameters using the validation set comprised of 20% of supervised cases. Now, after we're done with one set of train and test parameters, we are going to consider that as one epoch. Now we are going to mix the complete training and validation set to create a new training and validation set, which would be another epoch of training and validation. Now, once we run multiple epochs, it will help us fine tune the hyperparameter. And after we're done with multiple epoch runs, we're going to finally test the model with a test set which the model has never seen. And that is the final 10% of the supervised cases. Now, post go live, we are also going to create a feedback loop from production to find out what the model predicted and what the customer selected, so that we can use that information to retrain the model and make sure that the model is always updated, and it has an improved precision in the long run. Now, a simpler, this is a sample um, example of how the softmax classification is going to look like. All the different features that will be passed from the left is going to pass through the different hidden layers. Then it will go to a fully connected layer, and from the fully connected layer, it is going to go to the softmax layer to provide the different classification outputs. Now, any AI model for it to work has to have a consistent source of data and a reliable source of data. So this AI tool would also be not of any difference. Now for this, the sources of data would be the internal customer data from our core banking system, any kind of customer communication and interaction data that we have had from our contact centers, from our email channels, from our branch locations, and all of that is recorded into the customer relationship management system. So we'll be gathering those information from those CRM systems. We would be also getting financial aggregators data from which will provide data about the customer from different institutions. And if we have any kind of contractual sharing of data with other financial institutions, then we are going to get those data as well for the particular customer. Apart from that, if we are once we have all these cookies on our website, we are going to use this cookie based tracking information to understand preferences of a customer. And within the credit union's website, we are going to track how the user actually uses the website, which offer pages do they pay more attention to, they spend more time on, and then understand the preferences from there. Apart from that, we would also be launching a lot of advertisements, and once we launch those advertisements, we can get advertisement related data like number of impressions, number of clicks, and understand which of those ads has been preferred in a wider geography. Now, once we get all this data, this has to be passed on to one data lake, which will be on Snowflake. And within that Snowflake, we would be then labeling the different data points to understand and determine what are the different features for the AI model to be used. Once we get the different features, we're going to get a correlation between the different data sources using an unique identifier so that we can have a single record for a particular customer. There could be cases that we do not get all the data about a customer from all the sources, and so in those cases when we do not have enough data, either we can decide to remove the complete record, or maybe add averaged assumptions as well. Okay, there are different kinds of tools to provide assumptions based on mean, median options across different records, and or putting a null value on those records as well. So we'll be using those kind of tools to find out what would be the assumed value for those missing data. Now, once we get this data cleaned up, processed, we'll be passing this processed data through the AI model's neural layer to train and test the model. And after it has gone live, we'll set up a feedback loop from production to continue to retraining the model in regular intervals. This is how it is going to look like. The source of data coming on the left, it will be processed as in the data processing layer. After the data has been processed, it will be passing through the AI model, and then we'll be sending it over for the customer decision, and based on the customer decision, it's going to go back to the AI model as a feedback loop. Now, for this project to be successful, obviously we have to make sure that the organizations is comfortable with the change, and there will be some changes to the organization as well. So, in order for us to make sure that this project gets the acceptance, we will need to have show and tell sessions with the different leaders to make sure that they understand how AI is going to benefit them. We make sure that everyone understands the importance of data and how data drives our future decision making processes. We also make sure that leadership actually conveys that the purpose of using AI is not to, let's say, downsize the company, but instead to allow scaling up the company so that we are ready to accept more and more members, so that each employee that we currently have, let's say if they are able to service 10 people in the current day, using AI tools they'll be able to service 15 or 20 people. So each person actually becomes more and more effective, with some of the guesswork being taken care of by the AI tool. And that is the kind of messaging that has to be conveyed by the leadership, so that people or the employees are not fearful of getting replaced by AI. Okay, we would also have to discuss with the legal and compliance team to ensure that all the privacy policies, disclosures are updated and it is available to the customer in clear, concise fashion so that they can understand and provide consent on the usage of the data. And that doesn't make sure that they feel cheated later on getting the data used. Okay, once we have the change management in place and once everyone is onboarded on this, and once we have a AI model created, we would have to run it through an experiment to understand if the AI model is actually effective. And for us to do that, the best place to for us to do that would be using the online banking portal. Now, in our online banking portal, we have specific earmarked places where offers show up whenever a member logs in into the online banking portal. So instead of using the current version, which is a customer segment version, there is very standard set of offers that show up, and sometimes that is showing up based on in generic for everyone. Doesn't matter what is the age group, what is the location. It just shows for everyone. So instead of showing that generic offers over there, it will be replaced by AI suggested offers based on the individual customer's preference. Now, this scope of change would be done for beginning off with a pilot city, and it will be done for a random 50% of the customers that belong to that pilot city. Okay, the duration for which this experiment is going to run in the online banking portal would be for 2 weeks. And at the end of 2 weeks, what we're going to check is whether this has actually brought in more offer acceptance in the target group A, where the AI is actually being used, as compared to the control group B, where we are using the standard offers that is currently being displayed. Once we get some kind of positive results out of it, we can then use the feedback loop from the target group A and maybe fine tune the model even further, and then roll it out to a wider geography that will be, let's say, 3 cities or 5 cities, and see if the results are still consistent. Now, this will be the second phase of testing that we are going to do. Once we see that this is a consistency in improved results that we are seeing, it will be rolled out on a state by state basis and then across the country and then globally. Now, the reason why we think that this is a phased launch is good is, even though you might be testing it for different scenarios, there could be unforeseen issues that can come up, or unforeseen scenarios that might come up, which we might not have catered to. And so doing a phased launch makes sure that we are able to correct and take care of any such issues before it is made available for to a wider audience. Now, this particular project is not something that is gone live. This is still something that we are planning on working on and putting into production soon. So that's why I do not have an actual results as of now. But this is how we plan to implement this in the future. This is something that I am working on presenting to our leadership, making sure that they understand how this works. And this particular program with Berkeley is actually helping me in making sure that I think of all the different facets before I present it to the leadership. How change management is going to work, how experiments will have to be conducted, all the stuff I'm able to put based on the learnings that I've received over the last 8 weeks. And with that, that is all that I had to share. Thank you for your time. I hope this was helpful for you, and thank you for the time.